So this video, I don't know how to really start it off, but I guess I'm gonna go to the whole. It's basically the fact that appeal to reality isn't really a fallacy, but the idea is there. For instance, if somebody tries to like downplay a feat by saying, well, that's not logically possible in our world, or that's not how physics works in our world, then that automatically applies to the fictional world. That's not necessarily the case. Like in some verses, it can be the case, and if they're being really specific about it, it will be the case. But a fictional world can have its own rules. Like those rules are not dictated by our rules. For instance, in our world, we don't really have things that go faster than light. And if we do, it's like some theoretical thing that exists in only basically conceptual ideas and all that such nature. Like we don't have people running faster than light. We don't have people running faster than time and space and existing beyond time and space. And if we do, then we don't have like contact with those things or proof of those things. And so I can go further into the fact of like with time travel and shit like that. We have no real proof of time travel in our world, but even if we did, say for instance you go back in time and you kill your grandfather before you're born, then it would cause like a chain effect where you weren't really born and basically the grandfather paradox, and you wasn't born because you would have never been able to go back in time and do this and that. It's like it's a contradiction or a paradox. Those things really don't exist in nature. In reality, most people consider paradoxes to be impossible things, while in any type of fiction, you can just write a paradox. Like, you can have somebody go back and kill their grandfather and just be like, nah, I just don't feel like fading out of existence. I'm me. Like, Soul Bad Guy is kind of like an example of one of those things. And there's many examples, like Flash, Reverse Flash being like basically outside the loop of time and all just a whole bunch of stuff like that. Like anything like 4D and past are merely like conceptual. They're not really proven to exist in this world. So any verse that goes beyond those things really comes down to a yeah, go play. But those things really come down to like a well, it's possible, or these things could happen, or they could exist, and stuff like that. Like you don't have to have like you don't have to have it the way to where everything just works just like in the real world. In fact, there's many verses that just don't follow the rules of physics or anything like that. Like they follow their own set of physics. Like you can have like a verse where reason and logic are basically non-existent. They have their own forms of that thing. Like you could go to a verse where, oh yeah, or you could just write it down. A verse where, well, my character eats logic, my character eats fiction, my character is the concept of fiction, or made up of fiction, or made up of reality, or made up of logic, or made up of these things, and then somebody just come and punch them in the face. Um, you could also have verses where the the universe doesn't follow the same laws of physics. Like Doctor Who is one of those verses where he said the law, like where the laws of physics were devised by a madman, meaning that he's been to universes where the laws of physics are completely different. You could have verses where everything is basically upside down. You could have verses where gravity just doesn't exist as a concept. And those things to us would be like it really wouldn't make sense if we tried to use science to explain such a feat or to explain such a verse, to explain such a world. And so that's why I sometimes would say, so, like, appeal to reality, because a lot of people will try to downplay a feat and be like, I remember this back in the day, they used to say, well, you can't go back. Superman is not faster than light because you can't travel faster than light in our world. And that's just blatant downplay. Like, it's, or they'll say, well, that's not possible, so even though they said it on the comic or on the panel, that thing doesn't matter, it doesn't happen, we don't scale that, or something crazy like that. Like, you can't scream holes and dimensions, at least from what we know of, like that such things just don't exist in our world. And so to try to apply like our world physics to such feats are kind of like contradictory in a way. You could also have a verse where their physics or their version of how things work is just kind of slightly altered. Like, they might have like physics in their world, but their physics could be different. Like, they could have light speed set at like 45 miles per hour or something like that. Like, you can just write this, and this isn't me like just going and saying, well, this is possible or that's possible. No, in fiction, even if I just write a fanfic right now, I can just be like, well, yeah, in my verse, pataphysics and all this stuff is physics. Like, it's just baseline physics, then, or metaphysics is just baseline physics. Then, I mean, you can't really say, well, that's not how it works in the real world, and we're not gonna like accept that, and we're gonna use our version of what you said. Like, no, you have to go on how the series like explains the feat. For instance, like if you have a planet in one verse, it's not necessarily the same size as another planet, like, or our planet. We can use like a low ball or a high ball and say, well, it's our planet size, but we would never really know that feat. It's a baseline assumption, and if they tell you that, well, no, our planet has 1,000 times the gravity of Earth, but it's like the same size, like you'd have to apply different like logic to that planet, or you'd have to apply like certain physical things. Like, you can scale and be like, well, this amount of gravity should do this, and it should make you this fast if you're in this certain amount of gravity or whatever. But you can't really like limit a verse based off of that. Like, science is good and all, but you got to remember, this is fiction. Like, they can just write it to where science, like as a whole, just is a mere concept or a mere speck of water, like as an idea. Like, you can get into the platonic ideas of things, and characters just be up there skipping around, being like, "Oh, this the platonic verse," and I'm just out here playing in the sand. Or in my platonic world, like everything is made out of fucking water or some shit. Like, you can do these things, especially if you're like talking just about fanfic, or even if you're just like an actual writer, or and you're making your own verse. Like, fiction just does not. I understand what people saying, like, oh well, you can't. We When they say something about this and this, then we're gonna use this and this in our world to try to judge that feat. Yeah, you can do that, but you got to remember that's just an estimation. It's basically just like guesswork at the end of the day. Like, I believe it's stated that Lightspeed actually is different in Marvel and Dragon Ball than it is in the real world. Also, you deadass have logic manipulators. You have conceptual manipulators. Those type of things really don't exist in our world. And if it does, those characters would be like considered gods. Um, and that's another thing. You can have gods in verses that just be like, nah, I veto that, or nah, that don't work this way, or I'm just gonna change the rules of reality. I'm gonna change the rules of fiction. I'm gonna go outside of my fiction. Just all these type of things ultimately just come together to say, yeah, appeal to reality is not an actual fallacy written down on in a book or whatever, but the idea behind that is there.